John John Florence has been taking the frontside carve to a totally different place this year. He's just incredibly powerful, and he's doing it on a really big scale. It seems like it's an extension of stuff Dane Reynolds was doing for a few years, but it's just even more powerful and even more fluid than what Dane was doing. And I've been interested in it, looking at it in a different perspective, because I've been studying golf this year, and I've been thinking about how much specific and very detailed information is available about body angles and the movement of the shoulders and hips and the club face in golf. And there's a lot of interesting parallels between the way the wind-up in golf works and the way the wind-up in surfing works. And I've been wondering if there's some way to bring some of that specificity from the golf analysis to surfing. Surfing has been hard to analyze with the sort of objectivity that golf analysis has, because it hasn't, until now, been repeatable. No two waves are the same, and the camera angles are usually not the same either. That's all going to change with the wave pool, because there can be that repeatability and that consistency of angle. But even now, I think we can start talking about some basic things. First of all, bottom turns. All strong top turns start with strong bottom turns, because it's what puts the hips in position to do the delivery of power. In golf, we obsess about the backswing, because the backswing opens up the hips and the shoulders to be able to rotate through and deliver power. And the bottom turn functions in much the same way, because it sets up the hips to compress and push power through the turn. Most of us do these kinds of things more like this, with a relatively short bottom turn and then a kind of ineffective delivery. Or if we're really lucky, we do like this kind of Clay Marzo style snap that's all in the legs. But John John does it differently. When he's at the top of his turn here, his hips are almost as high as his surfboard, and his weight is compressing on that back foot. At the same time, his shoulders are opening up so that he can rotate through and bring the turn on around. This is more of a roundhouse than a carve, but the basic idea is the same in turn after turn that he does. He uses that bottom turn to get his hips up high. He's opening up with his shoulders and using the hips and legs to bring the turn on through in a powerful way. If we look back at this guy, he starts off okay. He's got a little bottom turn. It's not tons of power, but it's enough. And then I think he gets a little hung up right here. His shoulders are not really very open compared to the way John John would be in a similar situation. John John's center of gravity is really high. He's got his hips up high. The board is traveling this way, but his shoulders are opening up almost perpendicular to that path of travel, and he's going to continue to bring him around. He's got his head looking back at where he's going, and then as the turn is going to continue, he'll use those hips and the legs to drive it on through. So again, this guy's shoulders are in a different position. You look, they're virtually parallel to his board, even though he's going into this turn, whereas John John's were essentially perpendicular with a much more open position. Even here, at this point in the turn, his shoulders are still parallel to his board, whereas there needs to be more rotation to deliver the power that's going to make the turn work. I don't think that's the only secret to this sort of surfing. Obviously, John John is a genius in a lot of ways, but I do think that shoulder rotation, opening up for the hips, is a big deal, and it's at least one thing that can be learned from watching the clips. If you want to do a little exercise related to this video, try to put your body in more or less the position John John has it at the top of this turn. So the front foot is extended out a bit, the rear foot is kind of tucked under with the knee bent, and the torso is rotated about 90 degrees relative to the path of travel. The leading arm is pointing back toward where the turn is going to go. If you can just get that feeling, you'll get a sense of what an intense turn this is, even though John is able to make it look very graceful. And, being able to go through that motion when you're at the top of an 8-foot wave like this, or a 10-foot wave, or whatever it is, that's remarkable stuff. Anyway, I hope this was interesting, and happy surfing.